up, Gato Squad? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Elias. If you are new here and like daily car content, consider subscribing by hitting that button below. So as you can see behind me, we got my S2000. I took a little ride in it today. It was a lot of fun. But you guys are not here to see that. You guys are here to see my Type R. Because yes, recently I have gotten my Type R back and it's better than ever. So we have a lot to talk about, and I know you guys are eager to know what's happening with the transmission and what's happening with the rest of the car. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Alright, so now that the Type R is back, I can start enjoying my exhaust. Let's turn it on from the inside. Lovely, lovely. This exhaust sounds great now. I missed hearing the exhaust in this car. After I did it, you know, I had to take it to a Honda Pakistan to drop it off, and so I kind of missed hearing it. And I love hearing the exhaust. I just turned it on for you guys, and I was just driving it around. Lovely, lovely exhaust. If you have a Type R, I recommend getting that muffler delete as soon as you can. So anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the issues that the car had and where we are now. So before we talk about the transmission issues, this car also had a couple of other issues. So if you guys remember, I had a dash rattle. So there's a rattle from this A-pillar, and there's another rattle somewhere over there. And you know, I told Honda Pakistan, hey, I have this kind of rattle, and you know, I don't know what to do. If you guys have a chance to fix it, go ahead and fix it. And they went ahead and fixed it. Not only did they fix that, they fixed all the rattles in the dash. There's not one rattle to be found, and you know, it's a really cold day today, so usually the rattles happen on colder days, and no rattles at all. I've driven the car for a few hours now, no rattles to be found. I think they did an awesome job of fixing the rattles. So they replaced the A-pillar and they put it like a foam tape under it, so that there's a little pressure on there, so it won't rattle anymore. That's awesome of them, and so, you know, I think it's a really good fix that they have. And just, you know, take it off. If there's no broken clips, just put a little foam tape under it so that it gives a little pressure in the right area, and then put it on. That's all it needs to be done. Perfect. Now, I don't know what else they did to fix the other dash rattle, but I know they had to take the dash apart to do some of the interior modifications that they did. So when they put it back together, I think they went ahead and just made sure there's no rattles at all. So, you know, again, good job on them. Great job, Honda Pakistan. The other thing they did was, so I have my alignment was kind of off from the factory, so it was a little bit, the steering wheel was a little bit to the left. Now the steering wheel is completely straight, you know, spot on, perfect. And you know, it's refreshing to kind of see a dealership do exactly what they said they were going to do, and they fixed it 100%. You know, they didn't have to fix it. You know, it could have been, I mean, I could have hit a pothole or something. They could have automatically said that, but they didn't do that. They went ahead, okay, you know what, we'll go ahead and fix it for you, no problem. They fixed the problem, and now the car drives completely straight when the steering wheel is straight, exactly as it's supposed to be. So, you know, again, good job, Honda Pakistan. Now, I dealt with a few people at Honda Pakistan. Brian, you guys met Brian already. He gave me the loaner cars. By the way, they didn't have to give me loaner cars, but they did. And they also didn't have to switch loaner cars. So, you know, they gave me a 2017 Honda Accord Sport. You guys saw the review on that. I know it was a good car, but I just didn't like the CVT, and it was kind of a bigger car for me. So, you know, I was going to drive into the city, and I wanted something smaller. And I asked, you know, hey, can I just have a little switcheroo? And they're like, yeah, no problem. They didn't even bat an eye. Like, yeah, no problem. You know, we'll give you a coupe. And I kind of wanted a coupe as a smaller car for New York City. It's better. And gave me a coupe, that green coupe. Review on that very soon. Very impressed with it, by the way. Yeah, so overwhelmingly positive experience from Honda of Pakistan. Now, I know we all want to go ahead and talk about the transmission issue. So when I first told Honda Pakistan, hey, you know, I have a transmission issue, please go ahead and check it out, they actually went ahead and did their due diligence, and they called up, not only did they call up the tech line from Honda, they called up their higher ups, basically. So they sent a regional Honda rep, and they also sent a regional field tech to Honda Pakistan, which, you know, again, they didn't have to, but they did. So they actually went the extra mile and did that, and I'm glad they did, because when I went and met these two guys, awesome guys, by the way, they're both named Joe, and you know, I went and met with them. They were, you know, again, on the spot. They knew exactly what was going on, and very knowledgeable as well. And I did spend like 2, 3, or 4 hours, I forget, speaking to them. So let's go ahead and get into the details and talk about exactly what went on in that conversation. Alright guys, so before we start, there are definitely a lot of positives and a lot of negatives to this conversation and the story. So buckle up and get ready for a little discussion here. So first things first, like I said, the Joes, as I call them, really great guys. Again, positive experience with them, really nice guys. They knew exactly what they were talking about. You know, they all have, everybody in that room, I think, had performance cars at some point in their lives, or they still have performance cars, so they know what a performance car is about. Another thing is that they have told me that everyone at Honda, or a lot of people at Honda, have watched my videos. They know what it's all about, and they're very knowledgeable on all my videos. So it's kind of cool that they watch the videos and they listen to their customers that way. And it caught me off guard. Caught me by surprise that they actually watched a lot of my videos. I don't think all of them, but a lot of them, because the field tech and the rep and even Bob, they were talking to me about the videos in an enjoyable way. I saw that you did this and you did that. It's pretty cool. Talk about the mud flaps and the tires and things like that. We talked about the muffler delete and things like that, which, by the way, does not void any warranty. It just obviously, if I have an issue with the exhaust, that's on me now. But other than that, we didn't even talk about that. One of the Joes liked it, the other Joe did not like it. It's a matter of personal taste, right? Like I said, it was a long conversation, but it was an enjoyable one to have. I really liked hanging out with these guys. They're car guys too, which is nice to see that Honda employs good car guys in their service department. Alright, so let's talk about this transmission issue. Now, when I first went to drop the car off, I did not expect them to go ahead and fix the car. I don't know what the problem is yet. They don't know what the problem is yet. So to start throwing parts at it, in my opinion, probably detrimental to the car and to my experience, because I don't want to take the whole car apart before knowing the problem yet. So I went in there with that kind of thought, and thinking about they're just gonna go ahead and try to reproduce it, and if they can, they'll go ahead and document it. That's really what I wanted them to do. To my surprise, they went above and beyond. So they actually called a Honda rep and a field tech. And when I dropped the car off, I didn't actually know that they were going to do this. They told me this when I dropped the car off, and I told you guys that I was getting the Honda rep and a field tech to come over to take a look at the car. So I was pleasantly surprised, and I actually got to meet with them. And I did spend about 3 hours with them, 3 or 4 hours, and most of it, basically the entire time, it was really an enjoyable conversation. They seemed genuinely interested in what was going on with the car. They told me every time that I ground the gear or had the lockout, tell me exactly when that happened. So I went ahead and told them exactly every time it happened, and since it happened about 15 times or so, it took a while for me to explain that to them, and they were genuinely interested. The field tech I saw was taking notes, and they were honestly just very interested in exactly what the problem was. So what they also did was they went ahead and drove the car. So they drove the car to see if they could reproduce the problem. Unfortunately, and again, I expected this, they could not reproduce the problem. It's a very intermittent problem, and unfortunately, like I said, they couldn't reproduce it. So they said, hey, we couldn't reproduce it, let's have you drive the car. Now, again, above and beyond, I didn't expect them to say, hey, I'll spend as long as you need, let's go ahead and see what the problem is. I think part of it has to do with the fact that this is the Type R, so it is their halo car, it is their top-end car. It's only $35,000, so they do have more expensive cars, the Ridgeline, the Odyssey, and their whole Acura brand is more expensive as well. But the Type R really is kind of a halo thing for them. Enthusiasts love the Type R, and they really, I really do feel like they really want to make the car right. But to make it right, they need to know what the problem is. So we went ahead and went for a drive, and I also could not reproduce the issue. Now, I drove the car pretty hard, and I really couldn't reproduce it. And like I said, it's a very random issue. It only happens very randomly, and we don't know exactly what the problem could be. So we drove around for probably half an hour trying to reproduce the issue. We ran out of gas and everything, so I was like, what, it's okay. So I was able to reproduce the 54th gear lockout, but again, it was very faint, and it's hard to fix a problem when you don't know what's going on. So we go ahead and park the car. We kept talking and talking, and what I loved about the whole experience is that they were genuinely interested in trying to see what the problem was. We talked about what options they could have taken. You know, they could have go ahead and said, you know what, throw in a new transmission, you know, whatever, no big deal, just throw a transmission in there. They could have changed the slave master cylinder. They could have replaced the master cylinder itself. They could have replaced the clutch. They could have, you know, they could have done a million other things, thrown parts at the car and see if they could fix it. But like I said, I really don't think that's the right way to do things. You know, you don't tear into a car and start putting parts in it just to see if it would fix a problem. That would be detrimental, like I said, to the car, to my experience, and for them as well. So, you know, we decided in the end that it would be best just to document it and to keep going and to see if the problem persists. Another thing that I loved about the whole conversation was that they were trying to theorize what it could be, and they spoke about the clutch delay valve. Now, this car does have a clutch delay valve, which, you know, in my opinion, should be deleted from every Type R that was built, because I think, and you know, again, we don't know this is 100% true or that this is 100% the only issue, but I'm pretty sure that the clutch delay valve is causing 90% of the first or second gear grinds, because, you know, while the grind happens in slow speeds, it happens most often when it's high speed shifting, and high speed shifting does not go well with a clutch delay valve. Now, if you don't know what a clutch delay valve is, it's a little plastic thing inside the slave master cylinder that delays the travel of the clutch. So if you drop the clutch really quickly, it'll actually delay the dropping so that it doesn't do any shock to the transmission, to the driveline. And you know, a lot of sports cars, I've had them for a long time. Most manual cars come with that already built in, and usually it's not an issue because, you know, if you drive like a normal person, it's not going to cause an issue. But this is a sports car. This is a Type R, so people are driving them pretty hard, and they're driving them really fast and really hard, and for the most part, that's really when the crunch happens. Now, the 5th to 4th gear lockout, we had no idea what it could be. Alright guys, so now that I've explained to you what happened at the meeting, and you know that they were very interested in trying to reproduce the problem and seeing what the problem was, what is the next steps for me and my Type R and Type R owners that have this issue? Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be consistently calling the Honda helpline. I'll put the number below, and I'm going to tell my local Honda dealership, which is Honda of Hackettstown, hey, I'm still having this issue, by the way, just letting you know. And that's something that everyone that has a Type R needs to start doing. So, you know, call your Honda dealership, call the Honda tech line, call the number below, and go ahead and tell them, hey, I'm having this issue, let's go ahead and fix it, because until we get a nice, good amount of numbers of Type Rs with this issue reported, they really can't do much about it. So that's what I'm going to be doing. And you know, a couple of notes. Like I said, the clutch delay valve is likely a culprit of the issue that's been going on with the first and second gear grind. So that's something to look at as well. And there is rev hang on this engine. Now, it's not as pronounced as in the Honda Civic Sport hatchback or in any of the other cars that I've driven, but it's still there. It's still there. There's definitely a rev hang issue with this car, and that basically makes it so the transmission is not as smooth to shift as it should be. So I think the two problems here is the clutch delay valve for the first and second gear grind, and the 5th to 4th gear lockout likely is happening because of the rev hang. I don't know, you know, it's something that needs to be reproduced, like I said, for Honda to actually do something about it. But eventually, if nothing can be done from Honda, then I'll start trying fixes myself. First thing I would do is delete that clutch delay valve. I deleted it in the S2000, I deleted it in any car that's ever had it. I think the BMW 540i 6-speed that I used to own had a clutch delay valve that was horrible, that needed to be taken out. So it's something that I'll be looking into as well, and I recommend you do in order, if you have this problem, to fix it. Now, if you don't have this problem, you likely don't drive this car very hard, and people that drive this car very gently usually don't have this issue, which is, you know, more power to them. So you know, that pretty much wraps it up here, guys. If you have any questions at all, please go ahead and put them down below in the comments. I'll leave you guys with a little spirited drive here on this kind of wet morning or afternoon. The car still performs beautifully. I've just changed my shifting habits a little bit. I'm a little slower in the shifts. can't shift it like an S2000. And I think it has more to do with that rev hang and the clutch delay valve. Alright guys, I'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.